Welcome to the webinar. Thank you for joining us. Thank you to Lee. I am super excited to hear this webinar. It is a subject obviously close to my heart. So first of all, B2B content mastery, how to earn trust, win leads, and not fry your team or not burn out or not die of a heart attack as a marketer, which I feel is quite a challenge. I am Lisa. I am head of content content strategist at Amaka. You will all have received our emails, so you do not need to scan our QR code, but we will drop you a mail tomorrow with the webinar recording. For your reference, Amaka is a creative as a service platform, basically a fractional team. We connect brands across the world with the best global talent so that they get marketing projects done in a split second at a fraction of the cost. We work with brands. We have worked with brands like Nike, Volkswagen, Sony. We have worked across numerous countries. In fact, our founder cannot join us today because she is working on E1, which is the Formula One of motorboats. So it's like Formula One, but it's E1, it's on the water. So she is currently at that event, so she could not join us, unfortunately. But she will, we will share the webinar recording with her. And we will drop you all a mail tomorrow. But without further ado, welcome to Lee. Lee, I stalked on LinkedIn after reading her content and for once thinking, wow, somebody actually makes sense. Sometimes I feel like LinkedIn is a song and dance show. And that everybody is just putting on content for the sake of putting on content. But Lee actually has something valid to say. She spent 15 years in content marketing, 25 in marketing on a global level through products and content. She works as a teacher, workshop facilitator, writer, and author. And she has an upcoming book, which I am quite excited to get my hands on, which she will tell us more about later. I also think you should know that she comes from Idaho, which is where they make potatoes, which apparently supplies McDonald's the world over with most of those potatoes. So thank you, Lee, for joining us.
We love our potatoes. Yes. Thank you for having me and for stalking me on LinkedIn. I love that because sometimes you just post stuff indeed into the void and think no one is listening, but
it works.
Yeah, it can work over time. That's also something I love to talk about, but I don't think we're covering LinkedIn in the presentation. Anyway. Yeah.
Okay. Tell us what you're sharing with us.
Yeah, I am going to talk to you about the biggest things I'm seeing that are problems right now in content marketing. I think that there's 7, but the 7 biggest things, and then we'll talk as much as we can about the things that are working right now in content marketing. So the first and biggest, and the whole reason I wrote my book is that time and time again, when I start working with people who have content programs in place, they're doing too much. They're doing way too much. They've got 15 different content formats. They're doing them all. They're publishing on 5 different channels. They're doing the work for 20 buyer personas, and it's insane. Once I was helping a customer and they had a spreadsheet to manage their social media, just one social media strategy had 17 tabs in one Excel file.
Wow.
And the social media manager was stressed out. Nobody was keeping the file current. They were posting on 5 different platforms, and the first thing we did was simplify that. So just doing too much. That totally burns out the team. You've got multiple skill sets required, but possibly trying to have one person handle all of it, the social, the blogs, the videos. No one person can handle all that. You can't possibly measure all of that. So I see teams who are struggling to measure. It gets too expensive. So there's so many bad results from trying to do too much. And teams think that they need to do it all when really they don't. So you should really be focusing on, we'll talk about it more in a minute, what's best for your customer and what your team can actually manage. And anything outside of that should just be a big no for your business.
Mm.
Yeah. So that is a big problem, just simply doing too much.
Cool.
Second thing I am seeing a lot is, and this is changing gladly, happily, I'm seeing people change their thoughts on this, but focusing on SEO as your main distribution channel. And what's important here is that SEO is one of many distribution channels. It is a way to get your content out into the world. And it, in the past, 2015 to 2021 was the main channel. No longer should be the focus because, of course, of AI, right? A lot of people are now going to AI instead of searching for answers on the web. So eyeballs are being diverted from your web page now. It is not any longer about getting eyes to your web page. It is now about getting content to the right buyer in the right place. So if you're still focusing on SEO as the main vehicle for that, then that is flat out a mistake in 2025. So SEO, you won't rank for the keywords that you're going for because probably everybody else is covering those and going for those anyway. And your competitors are already doing it. So to be competitive, also focusing on SEO, the other point is that it can make for very awkward content. If you're really wrapping your strategy around SEO and keywords, I have found that a lot of teams pick a keyword and then just write a blog post on that keyword, and you end up packing ideas around one word instead of writing a narrative that's addressed to your audience. So what I like to tell people now is that content strategy in a nutshell is answering customer questions, period. And if you are focusing on keywords and SEO instead of the customer focused approach, you're not going to gain traction in 2025. So I see this all the time. I'm glad to say that I think it's shifting, but I think a lot of teams are still focusing, like clinging to SEO because it was such a big deal past 10 years. And it's changed like so fast in the past year.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you a lot of questions on this at the end.
If you're, drop them in the questions and we'll kind of try to monitor it. If you want me to stop after a slide and answer a question, happy to.
I think we'll put all the questions at the end. So if you do have questions as Lee is talking, please drop them in the chat.
Mm-hmm. Sounds good. This is another one that I have seen a lot of. It comes up when I audit somebody's blog. So one of the first things I do is take a look at all the content you've got. And again, these are established content programs. And what I see is usually about 75% of a brand's content online is top of the funnel. So this is what is content. That's the simplest way to think about your funnels. Is top of the funnel is what is. So what is this phenomenon? What is this trend? What is this solution? It's definitional content. Well, guess where people are going for that content now? Not in search and not to your website. So it doesn't position you as an authority. It doesn't position you as unique or different. It just presents you as another encyclopedia. And it's boring. So I am encouraging teams to shift to middle and bottom of the funnel content. Equal amount. So like 40% middle of the funnel, which is how-to content, and then 40% bottom of the funnel content, which is how we. So if that's an easy way to think about funnel, what is, how-to, solutions, and then how we, which is your proof and how your specific company does it. So shifting from 70% of top of the funnel, literally down to about 10, really eliminating that. And people always say, but what if we're a new category? That is different. If you're a new category, you need to define it for your audience. But most of us are not in businesses that are creating a brand new category. You just don't need this much content. Yeah. Oh gosh, Lisa, what a question. Okay. Nice, the big one. Okay, I'll answer that later. The fourth problem that I see all the time is that buyer personas aren't fully developed. If they are developed, they have the wrong detail. And quite often, teams have chosen the wrong person to profile, the wrong buyer to profile. So that's one of the first things that you need to do as a brand is really figure out who your buyers are. And I tell people to look at the top value buyers only. Not everybody spends a lot of money with you. There's probably 3 or 4 role-based buyers who spend the most with you. And the rest of them can just, yes, they do focus on way too many buyers. The rest can just fall away. So if you've got 12 buyer personas, so you've got 12 documents for 12 different buyer personas, probably only 4 are your top value ones. They also have teams who sweat the demographics. So how old is this buyer? Did they go to college? Who cares? What really matters is what their goals are, what their objections are. Some people look at jobs to be done, pain points. There's different ways to say the same thing. Pain points, challenges, jobs to be done. So you need to be looking at those things that are called psychographics, and just the demographics don't matter. Do they have pets? Unless you're selling pet food, it does not matter. So I dig into buyer personas document, and they're often underdeveloped or just a little bit off. So no need to go back to the drawing board, but you do need to look at your data, who has bought from you, and your forecast. Who are you targeting? Who do you want to buy from you? And then just pick a few and do them really well. Yeah.
Great point.
Too much friction. By this specifically, I'm going to talk about gates and gating content, but friction is when you are actually maybe unwittingly making it really hard for your audience to consume your content. You may not be putting it where they go. So for example, you're sending newsletters, but they don't read newsletters. So you're basically throwing content into the wind, making it too hard for them to see your content. Or you're gating way too much content. So you're gating your case studies, you're gating your ebooks, you're gating your reports. Yes, you can get email addresses when you gate content, and that serves an important purpose, but you also are putting friction in place. That means that people are not getting your content in the breadth that you may want them to. When somebody downloads a piece of content, you do get the email. When you don't gate it, there's a trust. You just have to trust that they're going to boomerang back to you when they need you. But you have provided them with content that's easy for them to consume. And so you're going to be top of mind, and you're actually establishing more trust when you don't make it hard for them to get your content. Another example of too much friction is a blog post or a newsletter that says, a social post or a newsletter that says, we have this great piece of content, go get it. No, don't make them go get it. Just give them the interesting bits in that newsletter or in that social post. Do not make them go get it. Do not make them truffle hunt and look for your bits and pieces of information. Put it right on their plate in front of them. So gates, be really careful when you gate content. There needs to be a really good reason to put a gate in front of a piece.
Great point. Just to share a story on that while we on the point is that we share our content through paid, but we actually had a challenge with people filling in a form. And I also think there is a trust factor more than ever of people giving their details. So it's maybe like when to gate and at what interaction. But yeah, great.
And another point is how many data points to gather when you gate. The absolute minimum. You don't really need to know this. And anything that you can enrich with a data enrichment platform, don't ask for it. You don't need to ask them the size of their company or their company revenue, but you might, or even their company name, because it's in the email. So it's first name, last name, email, boom. Reduce friction. Yeah.
Great point.
Oh, this is a big one. And this one is not easy to fix. So B2B content is notoriously boring. And especially in SaaS and IT, it's just notoriously boring. And that's often because it's not because the topics that you've chosen don't interest people. Because if you've done your job, you understand your buyer and you know what they need to hear about. It's that there's a couple reasons for it. You could very well lack a differentiator. And differentiation, actually, my newsletter today was on differentiation. It means that you sound, so either in terms of tone of voice and style, you literally sound like everyone else. You sound like an academic, or you sound like a tech bro, or whatever it is. You sound like everyone else. or you don't have a point of view that is unique and maybe even a little spicy. So you just don't have anything unique or different or interesting aside from what other people are saying. You don't have a point of view, so you're not taking a stand. This makes for boring content if you're not taking a stand and you just sound like an encyclopedia. It can even be undifferentiated in that you tackle the same topics as everyone else. So there are a number of things that you should consider that make content boring. Is your vibe boring? Are your topics boring? Do you lack a point of view? Are you covering the same topics as everybody else? And those things are going to make your content just totally blend in. So that is something to honestly assess. You might need a third party to assess whether your content is boring and why. It's the why part that I think brands struggle with. Why is it boring? And what do I do about it?
It's sometimes I like to think about it a bit like dating.
Tell us more.
People go on dates and then they talk all about themselves, and then the other person is like drifting off. So it's how to be an interesting dating partner.
How to be interesting, right? Yeah. Okay, so now let's talk about 5 things that I am seeing in the market that are actually moving the needle. And the next slide is the 5. So we will go through them one by one. So the first is zero-click content. And for those of you who, probably by now, literally everyone is familiar with the term. And it's about 2 years old now. And a woman named Amanda Natividad coined it in her brain. So there are lots of articles by her that explain it very well. But what it basically is you are not obligating a reader to click to get more. And that is exactly what I was talking about before. You put the juice, you put the stuff in the newsletter, right in the social post. And you don't introduce friction. So it's about frictionless content. And you do zero-click content across channels. So you are not sending them to other places. You're not sending them to a gate. You're not sending them to your website. They're not ready to go to your website. They don't want to go to your website. You're giving them the bits of information in the piece via either short form content, a social post is short form, or long form content like longer form, like a blog post or a newsletter. Yeah, and we can talk about that later if that concept isn't there. Email newsletters are working, and a lot of people think email marketing, newsletter is an email marketing, is not very effective, but there's still like 1,400% return on investment from email if you do it right. So you send a newsletter, there's a handful of things you need to do to make it valuable for your audience. And one is consistency. Send it once a month, every 3rd Tuesday. Twice a month is better, but most brands can handle once a month. To make it zero-click. So talk about something that your audience cares about in the newsletter. That's your thing. That's where the information is. Please never send out a link to your 5 latest blog posts. That's just not going to be as effective. And it's about building trust. Have you been useful? Have you been helpful? Have you shared a point of view that is important to them or their business? So always have them be from a person is another one. Please don't send a newsletter from marketing@yourbrand.com. And then subject lines also matter. So those are the 4 things top of mind that matter when you are writing email newsletters. Make them useful, be from a person. Newsletters can also be a lot more chatty and casual and first person than other content. And the newsletters I like the best have some humor, and they have somebody's personality behind them, and they have emojis, and they're a lot more chatty than the newsletters of maybe the early 2020s.
Yeah, I actually saw a newsletter yesterday, I think it's to one of my colleagues, which had a meme of the Real Housewives fighting with each other. Then I actually can't remember what the brand was, but like I love the email.
Sure. Yeah. And as you get emails, if you're like me, it's worth kind of noting what you like, what you don't like. What is the tipping point when you unsubscribe? Because there's a day when you're like, oh, I don't want another newsletter from you, and you unsubscribe. Okay, the next one is LinkedIn from personal handles. So personal handles of your CEO, of your sales team gets 561% the reach of the brand social handle. I'm not saying you should ignore your corporate handle because you do need content there, but there's a whole ecosystem around your brand handle that needs to happen for social media to be effective for you. And that involves empowering your teams on how to use LinkedIn to further the business and their career. There's lots of reasons why an individual would want to use LinkedIn. So you need to be encouraging as a brand. If you are using LinkedIn, you need to be encouraging your account managers, your sales team, everybody in your C-suite, those who are willing to post, comment, reshare, engage on the platform because of the power of the humans to further your brand well over the corporate handle. So I see a lot of brands just throwing content up a day on their corporate handle, sometimes 2 posts a day. The poor team that I worked with that had the tabs, the Excel file with 17 tabs that manage their social media presence, but they had 0 people within their organization supporting the effort. The next one, the 4th, is blogging. I still am a firm believer in the blog. Less so because of search, more so because you can direct traffic to it from other ways. And also because it's a length of content that really allows you to answer questions. It's a mid-length piece. Most people will read 1,000 words start to finish, rather than downloading a report and reading it, the next month. And it's enough length for you to really answer a customer question. I also love blogs because they can kind of be your content foundation. By that, I mean, you can use it to chunk up, to, some people say atomize, to atomize it into 5 social posts, 2 newsletters. I'll answer that in a second. You can also, if you do good planning, you can put 3 or 4 blog posts together and turn it into a really strong ebook if you have written 4 posts on the same basic topic. So I still believe in blogging. Has changed. Like I mentioned before, you're not blogging top of the funnel topics. You're answering customer questions and actively trying to help them solve problems through your blog. That also, ironically, or maybe rather obviously, will help you surface in AI. It will help you surface in Perplexity and Claude and ChatGPT searches if you're answering customer questions in a specific, systematic way. AI loves that. So still believe in blogging. Do you need a lot of blogs? No, 1 a week is plenty. I remember the days when brands were churning out 3 or 4 a week, right? Just to have content on the web so the engines could find you. That is not the case anymore. Content velocity is less important than it was before, but most brands can handle 1 a week. Emily, I'll read that in just a second. Okay, and then the last one, repurposing. So many brands that I work with just keep producing. And they don't even pause to measure, and they don't even pause to take a breath. What is better for your employees and for your brand is to reuse your good messaging. So if you wrote a great blog post, well-researched, resonates with the audience, answers customer questions, please use it over and over again. Chop it up into social posts, make a newsletter out of it, update it in 6 months and run it again, reuse it. Why is that effective? Well, it saves you money, it saves you time, but it also repeats your message in the market. And it is a mistake to think that your market is overly saturated with your message. People take, I think the statistics say 17 touch points before they're ready to buy. In long deals and big sales, it's a lot higher than that. It's something like hundreds of touch points. So they're literally not consuming your message as often as you think they are. And they need to see it over and over again. And repurposing helps with that.
I also saw, sorry to just add a comment on your point here, I saw an article yesterday which was saying LLMs really value more recent content. So things like updating a blog that did well before and just updating it and putting in some new insights will really be a lot more use than adding a new piece of content.
Right. That's like a little indented bullet under repurposing is update and maintain. And actually, this might make you all laugh. I added that chapter, update and maintain, on my book, like at the last minute, because it matters so much. So you've got a content engine, you've got all this new content, you're even repurposing well, but if you're not updating your old stuff, the decline in its effectiveness is really pretty swift. So updating and maintaining is important too. Okay, Emily, I'm going to read your comment. Leaders, yes. They're busy people, yes. Reshare, okay. To make it click for people. Training and support. So asking somebody to do something and telling them why is very different than enabling them to do something. So I think that something like a 90-minute workshop on why and how to do this is important. And then something like a Slack channel or a Teams channel where you say, here's a post. Did you share it? Can you share it? You say, thumbs up for so-and-so who shared a post today that got great reach. So it's the training, and then it's the support. And then the third part is coaching. So if you've got a couple subject matter experts or C-suite people who really want to lean in to LinkedIn, but don't have the time and don't know how to do it, it's never going to happen. But what they need is support, like share your posts with me and I'll review them, or let's go over the topics that you're most interested in, once a month. Let's have a brainstorm, or this is how you should write posts, or this is somebody who can help you write posts. So it's training, coaching, and then the kind of internal buzz that you might create in a Slack channel around LinkedIn activity. It takes some doing.
Thank you. Lots of really good tips.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. What else? So we do have some time. I just talked really fast. Some time for questions. Yes.
No, that is great. Thank you. I am going to ask the audience for questions from their side. Otherwise, I'm literally going to bombard you with 15 of mine.
We'll read yours. Yeah. In fact, what people are thinking and typing in their comments and questions, let me answer some of these. Content is so worth it. It still is going to get you 6 times the return of other marketing methods. So by that, I mean like paid or other marketing methods, events. So, but that's when it's done right. So many brands are just kind of, checking the box and moving on with content based on the strategy that they had from 2022 and haven't updated. All the best intentions, but there's been so much drift in effective content strategy over 2 years that you need to be revisiting your content strategy. Yes, it's worth it.
Even 1 year, one year. But I have to say, so I feel like leaders or founders and people who are running businesses, CEOs, are maybe like one step behind the content marketers. So maybe 2 years ago, they were like, wow, content marketing, nothing. Now they're like, okay, content marketing, we need content marketing. But now the content marketers are 2 steps ahead and understand the value of content, but now they can't prove it like they did before, because now we live in a zero-click world. Yeah. So how does that work?
Can't prove it like you did before. And Amanda Natividad in her own content about zero-click content addresses that. And she kind of says, too damn bad, right? Like you are reaching your audience with useful content and building brand awareness. And these are soft benefits and building trust and building credibility. That is not something you can measure until you get a consumer on the call and they act like and say that they trust you because of your. You can still measure the things, the clicks and the downloads and the traffic, and that is useful, but it is not as important as the trust and the brand awareness and the credibility that you're building through your content, the usefulness. If you have already solved a problem for somebody in your content, by the time you get them on the phone, they are probably close to buying unless something goes wrong.
Yeah.
Boosting content on LinkedIn by paying for distribution. Given not a lot of budget and given the cost of paid, I think it is worth it to boost things like webinars that you may be running. Most content, I think, is not worth boosting. People may agree with me. I don't know if there's a paid digital marketer on the phone. You could definitely pipe up, but I'm kind of iffish on boosting a lot of content. There are some big pieces that you definitely might want to boost. I would say test it. I would say boost a post now and again and see how it goes for you.
Probably your key pieces, no?
Right. Like a research report. If you have spent $40,000 on a research report, please put some paid behind that.
Yeah.
Yes, on that. Or if you are running a webinar with a big name or one of your thought leaders, yes. So I would.
Great.
But a regular old post, like I'm getting that annoying thing when I make a post just these days saying you want to boost that. No, this is a 24-hour flash in the pan post. Gone tomorrow. It's not important enough to boost. Yeah.
I want to hone in on like the burnout factor because I feel like it is a thing. Again, it also goes back to, I think, content marketers or marketers in general are generally super creative, also like love their work. And love to be doing their work, but often are overly enthusiastic and also pressured by the business about what they can deliver. And so there's this tendency to do everything. But I liked your comment on consistency, and I also think like pick, I don't know, 3 or 4 things and focus on that.
That helps. It helps when you just literally reduce the scope of their jobs. The mistake I also see is trying to hire one person to do it all. Nobody can. Like there are lots of us are generalists, which mean that you do a lot of things pretty well, but maybe nothing really, really well. And I don't think that's fair to the person. And I don't think that gets the best results from the brand. So I think we should encourage content marketers to go really deep in one area or 2. Hire a content marketer whose depth is in the area where you most want. Is it video? Is it blogging? Whatever it is. Is it podcasting? There's so much a content marketer could specialize in. Expecting one person to know everything is just not. That's just not. I don't know everything. I mean, I have to hire people to help in like video. It's not something that I do, but I know that, and I haven't developed depth in that area. So make sure the people that you hire have the areas of expertise that are most relevant to you, and don't saddle them with everything under the sun. Also, strategically choose what it is that you want to focus on and avoid the rest. Like if podcasting is not in the cards for you, don't do it this year. Don't even think about it this year. If social media is too much for you, I think I would tell most brands to focus on social media, but take the stuff off your plate that you just can't manage, and then your teams are going to be less burned out. Repurposing also helps with burnout.
Yeah.
Reusing what they did, because it's hard on a content developer who works their tail off on a piece. You publish it and then you never talk about it again. You don't talk internally, you don't reuse the piece again, and that person is left wondering if their work has had any effect. You also share results with your content marketers. If they're not part of the management team, your post got great reach, or this ebook was super successful. We got 4 leads out of it, or whatever. That helps them feel more connected to the work and better about their contribution.
Your best channels.
My best channels for my
favorite. Yeah, your favorite channels.
Yeah, my newsletter and LinkedIn. I have a website. You can go find it. I have 2. Actually, which is kind of silly. I have one for Globia and one for Lee Densmer. There's my Lee Densmer one, which is my new one. But I don't rely on SEO. Yeah, thank you. So for me, it's my newsletter and my LinkedIn. And even for brands, big brands, those 3 are your key channels: your website, newsletter, and then social media, depending on where your audience is.
Right.
And then video, and then events are the channels that I recommend for brands. Video and events are a way bigger lift than written content.
Yeah.
Though, which is why they kind of fall 4th and 5th. They're more expensive and they're a heavier lift, and there are less people who have expertise there. But newsletter and social right now, I'm super excited about B2B newsletters right now.
Yeah,
And playing
absolutely.
with those, figuring out how to reach the right audiences, what to talk about.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Lee, unless there are any other questions, I want to talk about, or comments, I want to talk
Mhm.
about, oh, yes, we have a question. Please go ahead.
Yes, hi everyone. This has been really insightful. The question I was gonna ask was around, founder-led brands. I know you mentioned something around that and like promoting your content or, from your own personal page over your business page, right? In the case where a person doesn't really, enjoy that front-facing strategy, like how does one balance it while still using your business platform to push oneself? Like, is there any way around it essentially?
Yeah, I've met so many founder-led brands necessarily need to be active on social media, and the newsletter needs to come from them and all the things. They are the brand. So you've got Zach and you've got his brand, let's say widgets.com. Your marketing, your content marketing needs to be coming from Zach. But Zach might not be a writer. He might hate to be on video. He might even have a hard time with opinions and points of view. Like he's just lost because he's an engineer or he's a product marketer. He's not a content person. He doesn't like public speaking. That happens all the time. Founders are just not marketers. So they need some help. So they need a thought leadership partner, and there are lots of them. I have lots in my network, or a ghostwriter. Ghostwriting is a little bit problematic because that just implies that the person is going to write content on behalf of the founder. There needs to be a collaboration, a thought partnership, and that founder doesn't have to write a word. The other person, the content marketer, can, but that founder has to be part of it. It's true for bigger brands too, who don't have a founder anymore on the workforce. So a CEO or a CMO or a chief product officer who's trying to build their brand also needs a thought partner. Yeah, I've seen many founders and CEOs decide they want to do content, and then it just kind of peters out. They can't do it. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Thank you. I think what I'm getting from what you said is rather than, putting that pressure on yourself that you have to do this, then it might be best to say work with an external party to make that happen.
100%. And
Right.
yeah, it costs
Okay.
money, and
Thank
it
you.
requires a meeting a week of collaboration. Yes, but to get results, that's
Growth, yeah.
yeah.
Mhm. Right. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Lee. I think we can all agree this has been super valuable. I am very excited about your upcoming book. Please
Thank
give
you.
us your elevator pitch of your book.
Sure, just quickly. So this book has a funny birth story. Thank you, Maggie. I was at a conference with a bunch of women entrepreneurs, and we were talking about how we share our ideas and insights. And since I've been a writer for 3 years and working with brands for 10 on content, everybody just said, put it into a book. So I literally wrote it over the summer. It's very practical. I am not big on theory, so it's just got like a pinch of theory in there, but it's 40 chapters on what problems I'm seeing and then tactics on how to fix them. So it is my practical tactical book that I hope helps everybody move their content program from stressful and overcomplicated to something a lot more doable.
Great. Thank you, Lee. Thank you to everyone who joined us. Thank you to the team at Amaka Studio, and all of you will get the recording, and we will share all the links, so don't worry. Thank you, everybody, where you all are in the world. I'm not going to say good night because for some good morning. So good morning, good night, and thank you again once again, Lee.